Today on Hopped Up Beer Review, we're going to be trying experimental projections derived from Transcendental Thought. It's a West Coast India Pale Ale from Burial Beer Company out of Asheville, North Carolina. Thank you for joining us. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Hopped Up Beer Review, the show where we give you our unprofessional, somewhat biased opinion about the beer we are drinking and reviewing. We are back to do that again. Be sure to like, subscribe, cheers that notification bell. We would definitely appreciate that feedback. I've got Andy in the attic. I've got Jay. I am Ben. What are we drinking today, gentlemen?
So this is another fun one. It's from Burial Beer Company, and it is the Experimental Projections derived from Transcendental Thought. It's a West Coast IPA coming in at 7%. So part of their Anno-X series, which Andrew will share some more details on in a minute. But let's go ahead and open and start drinking.
So opened. Right. So I think we were discussing a little bit here before we started. Nobody's had this one. It's a new one for all of us.
Mm-hmm. Part of a package that I had gotten and shared with you guys. It was a 4-pack, and I did not drink the 4th. So, anyway.
You got a little something there. There you go. Cheers, mates.
Cheers, mates.
Cheers, mates.
Thankful for your package.
Wrong show, Andy. Wrong show.
It's definitely West Coast.
Absolutely. No doubt on that one.
So this beer is 7%. Again, it's American IPA, West Coast style. Uses pale barley, kilned malt, and then the 4 C's of hops: Citra, Chinook, Cascade, and Simcoe Cryo. So cryo, the Simcoe Cryo. Hit that. I'll let you have a few sips because they're very descript on like we've gone over another burial beer, and the way they describe
their tasting
mouthfeel and the tasting notes. So kind of get the feel for it in your mouth. Get a nice whiff. So do you want the tasting first or the feel first? That's so weird. The feel. Okay.
Of course.
The feel is scoops of citrus Italian ice topped with candied grapefruit slices and drizzled in a pine-drenched simple syrup.
That's almost poetry.
That's burial.
I was going to say, maybe some pine needles on top of grapefruit peel. But
yeah, definitely some pine needles and the grapefruit. I definitely get that. Simple syrup, I guess a pine simple syrup would. So the tasting notes: sticky tangerine dream, orange slices, mixed berry marshmallows, sweet herbs.
Are we talking about the same beer here?
Exactly.
I don't get any of that.
I had to look this
one
up. Yeah, so this is part of the Anno-X series, and Jay, you had mentioned that these are part of what they do, like a beer for every year.
Yeah, so their Anno-X series they did as their 10-year anniversary series, and they did a beer representing each year. Some of them they might have done West Coast IPA. I think we had a triple IPA. They did a couple that were some of their heavier stouts or some of their sours that usually come in their bombers or their big, the big bottles. So just the uniqueness. Well, like I said, one for every year. I don't remember the exact year for this one, Andy. You might have
Year
it.
two. Year
Year two. Yeah.
And Ben, in case you couldn't detect it, it is 70 IBUs.
That seems a bit low for what I'm tasting, honestly. I would have guessed much higher.
I don't know what you're talking about, man.
Uh-huh. All right.
So that's all about the beer. Well, I could say the allegory. So based there, we've said it before, Shadow Clock, and I got to read the other one. I can't remember. Until there was emptiness where there was once something left to give is the two beers that we have reviewed on this platform.
Why don't you remember that?
Now the third, yeah. So they have an allegory based on their can art, and as it's on the there. The allegory for this is of the brightest blinding flash. Got it. I can see it perfectly.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I do. I love their can art, and I love their creativity and their names and the way they tie things together. I wasn't aware of the tasting and the feeling notes until the last beer we had reviewed. Those are very intricate as well, or complex, I guess would be the best way to put it.
Yeah.
And
more information is better.
Yeah, that's all for the Burial Beer Company, founded in 2013, Asheville, North Carolina. It's micro. If y'all want more information, Ben will gladly put the link to Shadow Clock on this. And that's where we get more information about Burial Beer Company. It's riveting.
All right. As we have discussed, nobody has yet had this one. So who wants to step out there and go first on this one?
Any volunteers?
Any volunteers?
I can always.
There's only three of us.
Yeah, I mean, IPA. I'll jump.
It's like, where's the guy?
I don't know that I've ever had a West Coast from Burial before. So it's a first on top of a first of having this beer. But I always, I'm biased. I mean, they're one of my favorite breweries when it comes to the IPAs, and this one is no exception. I think they do a great job at the West Coast on this. You can taste the pine coming through. There's that grapefruit peel to me. It's got a great haze. Not necessarily defined as a hazy, but I really like it. I mean, I'm gonna have to go with an 8 on this one. Not as high as some of the other burials I go with, but I'm not typically a big West Coast guy when it comes to IPAs. I prefer some of the others, but still great.
All right. Sir Attic?
I'll go. I'll let you continue to formulate your answer, Ben. I think you had it said at the first sip, probably. It's a little thicker and hazier for a West Coast in the feel and the look, but it tastes, the flavor is definitely that piney resinous West Coast. And it is a strong bitter aftertaste, that kind of citrus peel type of aftertaste that I get out of that. And like you, RJ, I'm not as big on West Coast IPAs. I'm more just standard American IPA and New England hazy style and juicy IPAs. So that said, it's still good. And actually I'm enjoying it a little more as it warms up. and I think it doesn't taste quite as bitter. I get some of the other flavors out of it. You definitely can get citrus and pine, but I'm going to give it. I have to give it a 7.0. I'd have it again, but it's a little more bitter and pine than I look for in IPAs.
And then there was me. So you kind of there right at the end mentioned exactly what brings this beer down for me, and it's the bitter. It is very bitter. Being not the IPA guy, having lived on the East Coast at one time, West Coast definitely not my favorite. I don't care for the piney.
That's somewhat biased.
There you go. I don't care for the piney bitter of a West Coast in most cases. There are a couple I've had that I enjoy, but for the most part, that's just not going to be my cup of tea. So with this one, you're right, Andy. I mean, mine's warmed up some, so the bitter calms down a little bit as it tends to do, but it's still piney resin, bitter, that grapefruit peel, which I don't mind the grapefruit so much, but it's combined with the bitter and the pine, it's just not necessarily for me. So this is going to go in the not the IPA category for sure. I'm going to give this one a 6 just because of my own personal preference. All right, that is going to be a 7 for the experimental projections derived from Transcendental Thought, Burial Beer Company, West Coast IPA. Definitely one, if you've had it, you need to let us know what you think about it. We all had our own thoughts here on this one, and we were a little mixed, but that's why we do this show, and that's why there's 3 of us, frankly. So be sure to like, subscribe, cheers, that notification bell. Check us out on all the social medias down below. Links are down in the description. Also, come say hey on our Hopped Up Beer Review Discord server. We would love to chat with you there. And lastly, if you, excuse me, have any interest in any Hopped Up Beer Review merch, as Jay is showing off there, you can go check that out at a link below in the description as well. We don't have any Pluto shirts. We are not officially Disney licensed, so you won't find any of those. But you can find some Hopped Up Beer Review officially licensed stuff there. With that, for Andy in the Attic and Jay, I am Ben. Cheers, mates.
Cheers, mates.
Cheers, man.